it's a little bit like if I was at the pub and I said something nasty about somebody and all of my friends said, Jane, you can't say that.
Wind your neck
that's out of order.
Yes.
Yeah, then I would think, I don't know why I said that. But then if you're in the pub and you say something and everybody goes, we totally agree, you're right, you should say that louder, it becomes, a kind of, you keep saying those horrible things.
Do you know, I'd go even further. So you're in the pub, you say something disgusting, all the decent people in the pub, all your friends, they all give you, an evils. They all tell you to wind your neck in. But then there appears at your shoulders these sort of voices that are disembodied and anonymous, but they're all shouting, Jane's right, Jane's great. And the next thing you know, you don't go to the pub anymore. You just spend all your time online with like-minded bigots and trolls. Must be quite seductive. But again, even as I say those words, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, God, how lonely must you be to seek that sort of solace and company?
Yeah. I think they do. I think the algorithms have definitely something to answer for, though, because you just lose any. You don't.
Well, they do for part of it. They do for part of it. I mean, if you're looking for fellow Islamophobes or fellow people obsessed with transgender issues or fellow racists or fellow white supremacists, then the algorithms clearly play a big part. But in the context of this sort of social media scrutiny, these aren't necessarily algorithms. This is more a case of finding people who are also the only one in their own pub, if you see what I mean. What social media has done is allow every pariah to find company, and when a pariah finds company, they cease to be pariahs. And the next thing you know, you've got, the lad off Lewis who isn't Lewis appearing on Question Time. It's coming up to 11:30. You're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. I don't know that anyone can pick a hole at the moment in the very simple suggestion that all you would need to do to make significant progress in these areas, and I stress for the umpteenth time, that to conclude or indeed to suggest that Caroline Flack's decision to take her own life was based upon any single factor is wrong and dangerous and deeply irresponsible. But anonymity, right? I mean, what's the downside? Morally, there isn't one. If you work in this sector, just talk us through why commercially it's probably never going to happen. So imagine if LBC could invent listeners to this radio show. Imagine if LBC could give Keith the afternoon off and get him to sit upstairs setting up listener accounts, all of which got counted in our next survey. And of course, the more listeners you have, the more the advertising department can charge for adverts. So if Keith could sit upstairs and just create 50,000 apparent listeners, but actually it was Keith all along, 50,000 Keiths, oh my God, 50,000 listeners created by Keith in an afternoon, and then they come along and say, would you mind voluntarily reducing James's audience by 50,000 because these aren't real people, these are all Keith? What do you think they'd say? Well, if we did that, we'd have to reduce the amount we can charge for adverts on his programme. And if we did that, we'd have to reduce the amount we pay him. Well, maybe not the last bit. Let's not give anybody any ideas. But do you see what I mean? So if they said to Twitter, get rid of all the anonymous accounts, Twitter would say, well, that's half our audience gone. And crikey, in the world of trolling, the number of accounts that are actually run by the same person talking to herself or himself about the public figure they've decided to despise so much you spend your life talking about them. I mean, the psychological problems I'm not qualified to address, but the commercial and media problems I am. But someone listening will be more qualified than I am. How big a Rubicon would it be? No, I don't know why I said that word in such a Jeff Stelling fashion either. How big a Rubicon would it be for the industry to cross? And can you, as someone who's worked for Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, can you talk us through the likelihood of them ever voluntarily getting rid of anonymous accounts?